So how do I get it? How do I get it? How do I get it? And when you use liver, don't use too much because some dogs are very sensitive in the stomach, just like my mom cooking. I like to use these little fishes right here.
Hi guys, I'm Sam and today we are reacting to Cesar Millan's dog food advice. Before we start, I'm a dog nutritionist and I own a chain of independent pet shops where every single week hundreds and hundreds of dogs come through our doors and we help them with their allergies, gastrointestinal issues and other health issues through the power of nutrition. But anyway, today we are reacting to Cesar Millan. Before we start though, whether you like him or hate him, props to Cesar because he has been around for such a long time and anyone who does that sort of thing for that long needs to be respected. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe to his channel and do support Cesar, whether you like him or not.
And we're gonna start with my dog's favorite because we get to cook it. It's rice and ground meat. It's an add-on to the dry food that I feed them. And the reason why I love it and the reason why they love it is because I personally like to cook it, prepare it for them, buy it for them. So it has a lot of beautiful rituals that I like to bring in. It's just like my mom cooking. I used to go to the market with her and we pick up whatever we were gonna eat, and I saw her preparing and then I saw her feeding it to me. So I like that ritual for me. It's definitely my dog's favorite.
Now, the first thing to say here is that he cooks this for his dogs, and this is something that has been an uptrend in the last 10 years or so. A lot more of you are homemaking meals for your dog, and what he says is that he enjoys preparing his dog's food, and that creates a bit more of an in-depth relationship with his pet or pets. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. Whenever I prepare food for my dog, it's really lovely to see him and me interact with the food and me preparing his meals every day, and that's something that I believe does bond us together. And I think Cesar makes the analogy or the reference to when his mum used to go with him to the supermarket and they would actually pick the food and then prepare the food, and that's really lovely. That relationship between people is really lovely, and what he's trying to sort of extrapolate is that onto dogs and humans, and I do think that's lovely. The second thing I want to say is that this is an add-on. This is not the only thing he feeds his dogs, so this is a bit out of proportion. Now, he does say that it's rice and ground beef. Now, we will touch upon that recipe a little bit later.
It's rice and ground meat. They love it. They know that every day they're going to have that add-on and their nose goes crazy. They have to stay very calm and they have to wait in silence. Something that I do every feeding ritual. I don't like to feed an excited mind. I like to feed a calm mind, a very quiet dog, because that's exactly what I want to nurture. I want to nurture noble silence. I want to nurture patience, and I want to nurture the heart, and that way the mind remembers the food means silence, calmness, patience. Anything that you personally make and that your dogs are seeing you preparing it, and that your dogs are smelling it, and that your dogs are waiting in personal zone, is definitely going to be the highest reward, the highest level of food that you can give. This is the top of the top of the top, the alpha of the food, the leader of the food.
So the point I do not like about the rice and ground beef is that rice is not really biologically appropriate for dogs. So let me explain. Whenever me and you eat rice, we can start breaking it down in the mouth because we have an enzyme called amylase, and that can break down the starches we eat. Dogs do not have this enzyme in the mouth. So whenever you give your dog rice, that rice is going to go largely undigested in the mouth. They cannot chomp on rice. If you look at the dentures and how their mouths work, they don't have the ability to move the jaws sideways like we do, which is a very clear indication, in my opinion, that you should try to stay away from giving your dog anything they aren't biologically designed to eat. If you look at ground beef, nothing wrong with ground beef. However, beef chicken, and wheat tend to be 3 of the most common allergens. So if your dog has a bit of an icky tummy, if your dog has a bit of an allergy, maybe beef is going to be one of the potential offenders. And so it's something to be mindful about. The third thing I'll say about beef is that make sure that any cuts of beef and any cuts of meat whatsoever you give your dog are of very high quality. You don't want to give your dog ground beef with too much fat. We don't want those fatty cuts of meat that are cheap and that aren't very good for us, let alone for our dogs. Again, we want lean meats, maybe 5-10% fat. Anything down the pecking order, it wouldn't be so bad, which is sometimes why some of the kibbles you guys feed aren't very good, because they manufacturers do not use prime cuts of meat. They use subprime cuts of meat or meat and animal derivatives, and those sometimes cannot be very good for your dog. But anyway, now he does talk a lot about training things that I'm not familiar with. I'm not a dog trainer, so I can't comment on that. He does touch upon the fact that this is fresh food and that it goes bad quite quickly. So if you are preparing something fresh, you do have to bear in mind that unlike kibble that can sit on a shelf for a very long time, if you make something for your dog, especially using fresh meats, those fresh meats are going to go bad quite quickly. So yes, not a fan of rice. They don't have the enzymes to break it down in the mouth. And beef, make sure the beef is lean.
Well, let's go into the next category, which is treats. Definitely treats is more for the mind. Definitely, without a doubt, you want to use the more smelly ones. The more they have that punch. And we have something that I really enjoy very, very much, which is the liver treats. And remember, liver treats are just a little tiny pieces of it. You don't have to give too much. Okay, just by opening the box, that's a treat on its own. The nose goes into this euphoria feeling, and you want to encourage the nose to come to you. Where are you? There you go. You want to encourage the nose to come to you. You want the mind to say how much they want it. Then the dog on his own start making his own little movements for it. And then you reward the behavior that you want. Again, the treat is more to entertain the mind, to help the mind learn something new. Right? So this is where you had a very short day with them and you want to teach something new and you want to make sure you drain the mind a little bit more, and that's when you come with treats. But the treats, for me and my experience, they need to address the nose more than anything else. Right? And again, when you use liver, don't use too much, because some dogs are very sensitive in the stomach, and it's really, honestly, it's more like a lick. So it should be like a combination of the smell of the liver and the sensation of peanut butter, right? So the peanut butter is something where a dog keeps licking, so the dog stays within the entertainment system, entertainment moment, where the dog stays there for a long period of time. Remember, when you use treats, you don't want to do it for more than 10, 15 minutes the most, right? Because it's like an ice cream. It's like a little dessert. It's not a necessity. That's why you don't want to overdo it. You know, you want to make sure it's every once in a while. It's a treat.
Absolutely true. A lot of people overfeed treats to their dog, and that's why their dogs tend to have some more health issues, more allergies, more gastrointestinal issues, and more health issues such as obesity, and they tend to sometimes put weight on because we do not realize how much food we are overfeeding them. So as Cesar says here, any treats need to be the top of the top, like the a bit like dessert, he says. And I would advise you to try to incorporate the treats into the dog's daily allowance of food. So if your dog has a daily allowance of food of 200 grams and you give your dog 40 grams in treats, and as an example, maybe you have to deduct that treat allowance so that your dog doesn't put weight on. So yes, that's absolutely true what Cesar is saying here.
It's a surprise. It's like a Christmas time, right? And then again, you want to make sure that the dog really It smells it, yeah? And then he shows you how eager or how much they want it.
It's not that dogs are sensitive to liver, it's that liver is so nutrient rich. It's a superfood, it's a very cheap superfood. I mean, people in World War II, post-World War II, were eating raw liver because it was so cheap yet so beneficial for people, here in England anyway. But anyway, liver is a superfood, but it can make up more than maybe 5% of your dog's overall diet. By the way, if you are curious about how to feed your dog, you can download for free the 10 pillars of dog health, how to feed your dog properly, and it's free and you can download it in the link below. Anything more you feed your dog in terms of liver can have a very serious impact on your dog's health, and they will get the runs, they will have upset tummies, that sort of thing. So if liver is a wonderful treat, a single protein food is a single protein treat, and it's wonderful, but very, very in moderation. And your dog's diet should already contain liver anyway.
My second pick on the smells is anything that is fish oriented, like the skin of a fish. I like to use these little fishes right here. Again, it's not about giving them too much. You don't want to give too much. It's just to encourage the nose. Don't open it inside your house, okay? Don't open it inside your house. This is really pungent. This is when you do it in the open.
Fish is a wonderful source of protein and a wonderful treat. Omega-3s, anti-inflammatories, they have so many vitamins and minerals. They are single protein, meaning you know precisely what you are giving your dog. If you give your dog any sprats, make sure you buy them from your local independent pet shop. Always support your independent pet shop. We really do appreciate it. But anyway, you have to make sure that that treat has been packaged and processed properly. If you are giving your dog raw fish, you have to put it in the freezer to kill all the bacteria and worms and potential nasties that can harbor in the fish, so that your dog doesn't get affected by it. But yes, sprats are wonderful. Anything fish, maybe oily fish, 2 to 3 times a week max. You do have to tweak the ratios, but they are wonderful treats actually.
And I'm going to show you another treat that is very, very popular here with us. This is a treat that we use a lot here at the ranch. It is very primal. It is the most primal treat that we have here, and this is the marrow bones, right? It's the knee of the cow. And these guys right here, they have food. It's a combination of food, and it's a combination of cartilage. It's a combination of them, exercising the jaw. But at the same time, when I give this kind of food, I have to be very careful not to give them when they're too excited, because and then they start challenging each other. So the more primal the food, the more you can bring the competition.
Yeah, so he's taken a training lead again, but I'm going to break down bones and whether you should feed bones. I mean, bones are the ultimate toothbrush for your dog. They are natural, they are designed to crush meat and bone, and your dog will absolutely love them. It's part of their diet. But anyway, whenever your dog starts chomping on something, they use their canatial teeth, their back teeth, and they are sheared and they can crunch meat and bone, and they have very, very powerful jaws. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, as opposed to many of the dental sticks that you get on the market. And if you turn that treat over, you will see cereals, you'll see oils and fats, and you'll see sugar or sugar derivatives. Again, cereals or sugar derivatives aren't very good for dental health, so don't buy those. The only thing with bones, 1, they have to be uncooked. 2, they have to be supervised. You have to supervise your dog, and you have to do it responsibly, meaning you have to pay attention to your dog's skill level. I mean, you wouldn't give your dog a big ostrich bone or a massive knuckle bone or something here like Cesar says if your dog has never had a bone. And if your dog has always been kibble fed, for example, which is the thing that we always hear about in our consultations, if you are going to introduce your dog to bones, start with something simple, start with something manageable, and then move up the ladder to more complex bones. Do not give your dog a big knuckle bone from the butcher and expect your dog to know what to do with it, because in the short term they have to be taught how to break them down and how to do it safely. We don't want any very expensive bills, we don't want any high vet bills, so it's important for you to do it properly. Also, if you are raw feeding your dog, bone shouldn't comprise more than maybe 10% of your dog's overall diet. And this is something we always say: if you are already feeding a raw meat diet, a raw based diet, your raw meat will already contain shards of bone which are part of your dog's diet. They should comprise about 10%. It's a wonderful source of calcium and it does wonders for our dogs. But yes, you do have to be careful, and I do agree with Cesar here.
Bones with meat. So the second favorite thing that they like, or we like to give to the dogs here, is the bully stick. Without a doubt, it's a lot more expensive than this, believe it or not. Okay, so if you're asking, hey, which one is less expensive, I would say the real bones are less expensive. The bully sticks, they're pricey. They have a good price on it, but at the same time, they do their job. They do the job well. And there are some bully sticks that have no odor, and most of the bully sticks have a odor. So make sure if you're going to provide it to the dogs, don't do it inside the house.
So these bully sticks, and it can be any stick from any air dried meat derivative. So we as humans eat pork, but we don't eat the ears, we don't eat the snouts, for example. We eat lamb, but we don't eat lamb's feet, we don't eat lamb's horns. All these byproducts of the meat industry are now packaged and prepared and air dried, and they are wonderful chews and food for our dogs. And so what Cesar here is exhibiting is a piece of skin, air dried skin, that you can again buy from your local pet shop, and they are absolutely wonderful. They are a wonderful chew. They are single protein, so that if you give your dog, say, a pig ear and they have a bad reaction to pork, you will know that that pork is what's causing the reaction. Whereas if you feed your dog any other treat with cereals, for example, on the back, or it says natural flavors or animal fats or meat and animal derivatives, and they are very vague, we will not know what we are giving our dog, which actually is maybe 95% of dog allergies these days. Vague ingredients, inflammatory ingredients. So by the traceability of giving your dog something, 100% of one single protein is what Cesar here is very, very adroitly trying to convey to you, that you should give your dog natural chews. That you should give your dog natural chews above all.
Then the bully stick or the bone will be a perfect way to completely drain the energy, at the same time show them how much you love them.
I mean, whether you like Cesar or not, one has to admire the guy, because he has been around the block forever, for seemingly ever. And even though there are certain things that he does in regards to nutrition, and he's not an expert in nutrition, I would say, and he's advocating for natural things and minimally processed things, we want to do things properly. And so if you are more curious and you want to know more about raw food and how to prepare your own dog treats and that sort of thing, you should really watch this video next.